tingling.
What does the Catholic Church say about climate change? And how does this oppose what Republicans have to say about this issue?
These are excellent questions and also very valid concerns. Hello everyone, I'm Captain Catholic, and I hope I'm able to address these important questions of yours. This video is actually part of a larger series discussing various political issues. Often, people will ask the question, should Catholics be Republicans or Democrats? Obviously, the answer to that question is that Catholics shouldn't be either Democrats or Republicans. This is because the Catholic Church has many strong viewpoints that oppose the views of both Democrats and Republicans, depending on the issue. So throughout this series, we'll be taking a look at how the views of the Catholic Church oppose each political party on selected issues. Specifically, throughout this series, we'll look at how the Catholic Church opposes the Republican Party on the issues of war and military spending, gun control, capitalism and the role of the government in helping the poor, immigration, and climate change. We'll also be taking a look at how the views of the Catholic Church oppose the Democratic Party on the issues of abortion, stem cell research, euthanasia, and religious freedom. This particular video will focus on the topic of climate change. So, let's begin. Let's take a look at how the Catholic Church's views on climate change directly oppose the Republican Party's views on this issue. To begin, the Catholic Church views man-made climate change as a reality that is to be dealt with as a top priority. Let's take a look at a few quotes directly from the Catholic Church to illustrate this. Pope Francis has stated, "Climate change is a global problem with grave implications. It represents one of the principal challenges facing humanity in our day." Pope Francis continues, "We know that technology based on the use of highly polluting fossil fuels, especially coal, but also oil and, to a lesser degree, gas, needs to be progressively replaced without delay." Pope Benedict XVI has stated, "Preservation of the environment, promotion of sustainable development, and particular attention to climate change are matters of grave concern for the entire human family. No nation or business sector can ignore the ethical implications present in all economic and social development. With increasing clarity, scientific research demonstrates that the impact of human actions in any one place or region can have worldwide effects." Pope Benedict XVI has also stated the connection between fighting poverty and fighting climate change are important areas for the promotion of integral human development. And finally, St. Pope John Paul II has stated, "Faced with the widespread destruction of the environment, people everywhere are coming to understand that we cannot continue to use the goods of the earth as we have in the past. The gradual depletion of the ozone layer and the related greenhouse effect has now reached crisis proportions as a consequence of industrial growth, massive urban concentrations, and vastly increased energy needs. Industrial waste, the burning of fossil fuels, unrestricted deforestation, the use of certain types of herbicides, coolants, and propellants, all of these are known to harm the atmosphere and environment. While in some cases the damage already done may well be irreversible, in many other cases it can still be halted. It is necessary, however, that the entire human community, individuals, states, and international bodies, take seriously the responsibility that is theirs." So as you can see, the Catholic Church views climate change as a reality caused by human actions that has devastating effects on the poor and on the entire human family. The Catholic Church views fighting climate change as a top priority to be dealt with immediately, not sometime down the road when we feel like it. On the other hand, Republicans tend to have polar opposite views on climate change. Some Republicans don't even believe that man-made climate change is a reality. They believe it is a government hoax. Out of the Republicans who do believe that man-made climate change is a reality, the vast majority of them do not view it as a top priority issue. Let's take a look at how some Republicans view climate change. Here's a tweet from Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. "Global warming is a total and very expensive hoax." And another tweet from Donald Trump. "The concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to make U.S. manufacturing non-competitive." In an interview, Donald Trump stated, "I'm not a believer in man-made global warming. I mean, Obama thinks it's the #1 problem of the world today, and I think it's very low on the list. Republican Senator Marco Rubio has stated, "Our climate is always changing, and what they have chosen to do is take a handful of decades of research and say that this is now evidence of a longer-term trend that's directly and almost solely attributable to man-made activity." I do not agree with that. I do not believe that human activity is causing these dramatic changes to our climate the way these scientists are portraying it, and I do not believe that the laws that they propose we pass will do anything about it. Republican Senator Ted Cruz has stated, "Climate change is not science, it's religion." Well, you're kind of right about that, Ted, because fighting climate change is a big part of the Catholic religion. You see what I did there with it? That religion thing. I could actually go on for quite a while showing how many Republicans do not believe that man-made climate change is a reality, because according to a poll conducted by PolitiFact in 2014, only 8 out of 278 Republicans in Congress had made on-the-record comments accepting the reality of man-made global warming. This certainly doesn't represent the Catholic Church's approach to making the fight against man-made climate change a top priority.
Yeah, okay, all right, I get it. So what exactly does the Catholic Church encourage us to do about climate change?
The Catholic Church encourages all of us to do our part in fighting climate change by simple actions such as not polluting and saving energy whenever possible. However, the Church also teaches that individual actions certainly are not enough. Therefore, the Catholic Church teaches that government intervention and regulation is necessary in order to fight climate change. Let's take a look at a few quotes. Pope Francis has stated, "Many of those who possess more resources and economic or political power seem mostly to be concerned with masking the problems or concealing their symptoms, simply making efforts to reduce some of the negative impacts of climate change. However, many of these symptoms indicate that such effects will continue to worsen if we continue with current models of production and consumption. There is an urgent need to develop policies so that, in the next few years, the emission of carbon dioxide and other highly polluting gases can be drastically reduced, for example, substituting for fossil fuels and developing sources of renewable energy. We cannot fail to praise the commitment of international agencies and civil society organizations which draw public attention to these issues and offer critical cooperation, employing legitimate means of pressure to ensure that each government carries out its proper and inalienable responsibility to preserve its country's environment and natural resources. Society, through non-governmental organizations and intermediate groups, must put pressure on governments to develop more rigorous regulations, procedures, and controls. Unless citizens control political power, national, regional, and municipal, it will not be possible to control damage to the environment. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops has stated, "Beyond the regulations, the United States should exercise leadership for a globally negotiated climate change agreement." So as you can see, the Catholic Church teaches that the governments of the world must work together in order to create a globally negotiated climate change agreement. Furthermore, Pope Francis would like to see the governments of individual countries develop policies that limit carbon dioxide emissions. Fortunately, the United States government recently did just that. In order to address carbon dioxide pollution, which contributes to climate change, President Obama's administration released the Clean Power Plan in 2015. In fact, President Obama even mentioned Pope Francis's climate change encyclical, Laudato Si', when introducing the Clean Power Plan. Thanks, Barry! I'm sure Pope Francis appreciated the shout-out. The Clean Power Plan requires power plants to cut their carbon dioxide emission levels by 32% by the year 2030. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops approved of the Clean Power Plan within hours of its introduction. Here's what the bishops had to say about the Clean Power Plan. The bishops welcome this important move by the administration to adopt long-awaited standards to mitigate climate change and safeguard public health, which are significant ways to live out our responsibility to care for God's creation. A new national standard to reduce carbon pollution from existing power plants is an important step forward to protect the health of all people, especially children, the elderly, and poor and vulnerable communities from harmful pollution and the impacts of climate change. So as you can see, the Catholic Church was very supportive of the Clean Power Plan. In fact, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops even went on to write letters to every senator and representative in Congress, urging them to oppose any new legislation that would reverse the Clean Power Plan. This is what their letter stated. I write to urge you to oppose legislation and appropriations riders designed to reverse efforts to implement a national standard to reduce carbon pollution from existing power plants. Well, unfortunately, Republican senators and representatives completely ignored this letter from the bishops. After the Clean Power Plan was introduced in 2015, countless Republicans in Congress and across the country were trying to shut the plan down. In February of 2016, 24 states and a coal company sued the Environmental Protection Agency over the Clean Power Plan, asking the courts to declare the plan unconstitutional. All but 3 of the 24 states who sued the EPA have Republican attorneys generals. In addition, 205 lawmakers filed a friend of the court brief to support the lawsuit against the EPA's Clean Power Plan. Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell led the movement, and Republican presidential nominees Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz were among those filing the brief. In fact, out of the 205 lawmakers who filed the brief, 204 of them were Republican. In their own words, Republicans filed the brief against the EPA because they thought that the EPA was seeking to usurp the role of Congress in establishing climate and energy policy for the nation. Well, you know what? I hope they do usurp the role of Congress in shaping climate change policies, because right now, you guys really suck. So as you can see, the Catholic Church firmly supported the Clean Power Plan, while the Republican Party fiercely opposed it. The Catholic Church looked very positively on the government regulations to limit carbon dioxide emissions to fight climate change, while the Republican Party did all they could to resist these government regulations. Polar opposite views. And so, we see the Republican Party holding up the fight against climate change for the entire nation. This is a complete embarrassment, because countless other countries in the United Nations have been striving to fight climate change together, and they need every country on board in order to make any progress. Pope Francis was actually very critical of those countries that weren't doing as much as they should to fight climate change. Pope Francis stated, with regard to climate change, the advances have been regrettably few. Reducing greenhouse gases requires honesty, courage, and responsibility, above all on the part of those countries which are more powerful and pollute the most. The Conference of the United Nations on Sustainable Development, Rio Plus 20, issued a wide-ranging but ineffectual outcome document. International negotiations cannot make significant progress due to positions taken by countries which place their national interests above the global common good. He's talking about the United States. Pope Francis continues, those who will have to suffer the consequences of what we are trying to hide will not forget this failure of conscience and responsibility. And so, there you have it. The Catholic Church and the Republican Party's views on man-made climate change couldn't really be any more opposite. Alright, so that just about ends our coverage on how the Catholic Church's views on climate change oppose the views of Republicans on this issue. Be sure to check out any of the other videos in this series to see how the Catholic Church opposes each political party's views on other selected issues. So, what were your thoughts on the issues presented in this video? Please feel free to discuss your thoughts on these issues in the official Captain Catholic Facebook group, Captain Catholic Wants You. All people of goodwill are welcomed and encouraged to join the discussion, regardless of your religious or political views. Please just remember to be respectful and kind to all people in the group, regardless of whether or not they agree with your views. Also, feel free to check out the official Captain Catholic website, CaptainCatholic.com, for more videos. And before we go, just one final thought on this video. Please be aware that in this video, I was not attempting to give you a comprehensive summary of the Catholic Church's teachings on these issues. That would take hours, even more time than I wasted of yours already. So for time's sake, I tried to simply give you a few brief quotes that effectively highlighted some of the Catholic Church's teachings on these issues. Nevertheless, despite being brief, I'm sure these quotes show you how the Catholic Church directly and clearly opposes views held by both the Republican and Democratic parties. So hopefully you can use this video as a starting point to learn more about the Catholic Church's teachings on these issues in depth. Thank you so much for watching. And regardless of whatever your personal views may be, I will be sure to keep you in my prayers, and I wish you a fantastic day. Peace be with you.